Hey YouTube, this is Jen, your Pudgy Picker, and
Kim.
we are here again for number 3 of our podcast. And this one is going to be discussing, should you sell items that are $5 or under at the price point in your booth? So, yes or no?
No and yes.
Well, that was clear.
Yeah, not yes and no, but no and yes. I mean, we don't purposely go out searching for items at that price, but there's many times where they fit into where we need them to fit in, such as filler items.
Yeah, filler items. So think about it this way. You have this space, and you're paying a lot for this space to rent, and you want the maximum bang for your buck. So you're not going to look at it and stock it like it's a dollar store.
No.
That's the mentality. Not many vendors in our mall do that, but there are some that you can look and say that was at the dollar store.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
So yeah. Also, like you say about not going out purposefully and looking for items that are $5 or below, and that's true with eBay. You know, we always kind of have to throw the eBay card in there because, you know, you want to have an average selling amount of a certain amount to keep that, the profits elevated. But I think of it this way. When I'm at an auction,
Yep.
I buy a box lot, and it may be very similar items. I have bought box lots of ceramic frogs.
Yes, I think right now we have more frogs than I'd care to discuss.
Yes. Also, I had a box lot of miniature perfumes.
Yep.
So when you're looking at individual items, you can get a whole box lot for probably $4 to $6 or more, of course. But you look at that item and you think, I'm probably only going to get maybe $3 to $4 for each of these items. But because of the quantity that you have,
Yep.
that's going to make the difference.
That's definitely true.
And with anybody who's been watching my What Sold on eBay videos are probably entirely sick of seeing miniatures, bug house, little animal miniatures, because they are selling like hotcakes.
I just want the pennies that you put in each picture.
Oh, it's the same penny.
If I
I'll
had
give
a
it to you
penny-
now.
If I had a penny for everyone you sold,
Whew.
I'd have $50 by now.
So when I got those, I counted them, 218 miniatures. And I paid a total of $24 for all of them. Now, most of them are selling for a minimum of $4.99 up to $7.99 each. Now, that's not big profits. It's not, you think, wow, that's a lot of work for... But if I sold every last one of those, I did the math.
Of course you did.
I did the math because I needed it in my brain to know. If I have 218 and I sold them at $5 a piece only, that's over $1,000.
Yep.
It's like $1,050 or whatever.
Yep.
But the point being, oh, look, I'm going to sell this for $4.99 or less or just slightly more. You think, but look at the profit margin. So that's something, if you buy a bunch of stuff and you got a good price on it, that's going to be another reason why we sell things at a lower price point on eBay or, of course, in the booth as we're talking about.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's what I was going to bring out. It's the profit point on those. I mean, if you're buying something for $4 and you're selling it for $4.99, you ought to be slapped.
Well, if you're not going to be slapped, you're going to be out of business. Yeah.
Because you have to, that's part of it too, is you have to recognize that when you have a booth, you're paying for every square inch in that place.
Yep.
And you want to maximize that amount. You want to take advantage of the space, but you also want to maximize that amount. So if you're selling things at only $4, $5 price point, you're going to have to sell a lot more of them in order to pay all of your booth rent and your any other charges or percentages, or and to make up whatever money you put into it. So it's not going to be that much at the end. But again, if you're only paying pennies on the dollar, it makes it worth it. And if it's something too that can draw people into your booth, because they might walk by and just take a glance and go, "Oh, I don't know if I want it." But if they see that one thing that's, it's only $5, but they have to walk into the booth to look at it.
Yep.
They're liable to pick up that $10, $12, $20 item while they're there. So,
Yeah, and it seems like there are some booths that I've seen in the past. I don't necessarily think there's any now that I'm thinking of, but they have mostly larger items or furniture and
Yes.
chunkier, bigger items. And while that might be, oh, well, they're going to make more money because they have higher priced or larger items, it doesn't look, it doesn't have a cohesive look to it. It looks like you just took furniture and chunkier items and put them in one space together. It doesn't look themed. It doesn't look like it has a flow to it. And that's something that will draw people into the booth.
yeah, you have to make it look attractive, inviting, comfy, remind them of home, to encourage that emotion. That's part of our selling is, there's not a thing that we sell up there in that booth that you cannot live without that day. It's
Yep.
not a loaf of bread. It's
Or even
not
for the week. Yeah.
it's not going to feed
Toilet
your
paper.
family. Yes. But at the same time, it's emotional draw, and if you can just get them to stand there long enough, they're going to find something that's going to click with them and make them pick something up. And if you get them to pick it up, you have a better chance once it's in their hand of going out the door.
Yeah, I've heard that before when you have something in your hand. That's why a physical space can have an advantage over maybe an online presence, because you're touching it, you're feeling it, you're making that connection.
Yep.
When you have people who see something or a monument or something, or if you go to DC to physically touch any of those things, it is a physical,
It's an
emotional response. So that's very important.
I've worked in retail for many, many years. And I worked in a jewelry department for a couple of years. And that was one of the most important things that I was trying to teach people as they came into work for me is you see where they're looking, pull something out of the case, make a story behind it, get it in their hands, because you have a better chance of a sale if they have it in their hands than if they're just looking at it in a glass box.
Yeah. Think of it this way too. You ever see the kiosks in the mall? And there's always there's one that I never understood how they made any money, and it was like lotion and like a nail file system kind of thing. And you know how they did that? The lady came up and put her hand out like she's going to shake your hand, and she started slathering lotion on you. And she's got you. She's literally got a hold of you. So yeah, that physical, that physical touch is very important. So when you think about lower priced items, if you have a theme or some type of thing going on where you have larger pieces, or I know I had a customer today when we were restocking that came in, and I said, "Hi, how you doing?" I always talk to my customers when they're there, and I say, "Do you frequent our booth? Do you always come to our booth when you're here?" And certain people, and this lady said yes, and I said, "If you don't mind me asking, what do you look for, or what do you like to look at when you're here? Because then that gives me an idea," and this is what I told her, that when I'm outsourcing and finding things to bring in, that I want to make sure that things that I know my customers like are here. And she said, "I love nautical stuff." And since we live on Lake Erie, that's something that you definitely see a lot of, and something we have a grouping of. And we have, a couple of lighthouses that light up, picture frames that have shells on them, those kind of things. You have other smaller items that you kind of fit in there, or if you see them, in your brain that's a theme that you carry, that you could put them in there. So there's something that's $20, $25, all the way down to maybe $3 or $4. that anybody can come into our booth and afford something.
Yes.
And that's something I like to think of, that no matter who you are or what your interest is, you're probably going to find something you like, and you're going to be able to buy something, because it's not all $35 and up.
Yeah, and I think that's a large part of it is if you get them in there and they're looking at, such as you're mentioning the nautical theme. Like I've said, we don't purposely go out looking for that price point. But if you see something that's going to fit into that $5 price point or $3 price point, but you know it fits into what you're already carrying, that it's going to complement other things that you have, someone is more likely to buy it along with that other item because it doesn't cost a lot. And that looks really cute sitting next to that little, boat, display boat, or it looks really neat next to that jar of shells. They are liable to go ahead and purchase it at the same time because it's sitting there looking good together.
Yeah, and people see that and they're like, I want to buy those, and I'm going to set them up pretty much just like that wherever I'm going to put them in my house. So, and there are certain themed items that we always have. We always have nautical. We always have animal figurines.
Yes.
We always have handmade item. I mean, there's a lot of items that we normally carry because we know that style is desired in our booth. So when we find something, we're always looking to get something. And like you said, if you pick up something for 50 cents and you're selling it for $1, then no, it's really not worth.
No.
It's really not worth to do that. Like we said, you're paying for the square inches in the booth. You have, your rent and all the other obligations or whatever your mall requires. Another thing that our mall requires is that we use certain price tags, and they are sold to us vendors at cost, so that we use them for uniformity, so that it's a security thing. So that's another item. That's something else that you're buying. So all these, these expenses add up. So when you sell something, if you have something for $10, you have to figure out how much room is that taking up. Mm-hmm. You put a price tag on, that's costs. There's all these things that add up. If you, we'll talk about this at a later podcast, but if you run a sale, you gotta, how much is that going to take off? So that's, it's really something you have to consider when you're pricing items. And if you buy something for 10 and sell it for 100, or you buy something at a garage sale for $0.10 and sell it for $1, I mean, it's going to add up the price. It'll be fine, as long as you keep that in balance. What percentage would you say of a booth should be $5 and less?
Ooh.
I'll put you on the spot.
Oh, I was going to say. Wow.
I mean, what would be, okay, this is ridiculous, you shouldn't do it.
50%.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And then what would be like, you're not even trying. I mean, I don't know.
I would say, see, most things that are that price though aren't big items.
Yeah.
So that's my first thought is most
they're
of
not
the
taking
stuff,
up a lot of room.
Yeah, so they're not taking up a lot of room, and they can be cutesy things that kind of grab your attention or whatever. But I don't know. I just off the top of my head, maybe 20, not even 20.
Yeah.
Absolutely no more than 20.
I was thinking 10 to 15.
Yeah.
And something else we have in our booth, and I just told Kim today, I have it looks like a picture frame, but it has shelves in it, and it's got, I think, 3 shelves that are probably 3 to 3.5 inches deep, 3 inches deep. And we put a lot of our littler items on there. And I have a higher price on that because I kind of didn't want to sell it because I knew we were putting smaller items on there. And I just told her today, I'm like, I really should put not for sale on this.
We'll go in next week and it'll have sold because you said that today.
You know what, though? I put a high price on it, so I would find a way to be happy about that. But it's one of those things that little shelf that takes up probably maybe 10 by 12 inches on the wall holds probably
I was going to say, how many items do we have
maybe
sitting on it right
10
now?
to 12 items on it. So yeah, I mean, that's, that doesn't take up a lot of space. And we always have smaller items, and it's kind of a nice place to have them all clustered together. So like you said, it's taking up real estate. Now, if you had something that was the size of a 55-gallon drum for $5,
Do you want to be smacked?
yeah, then
Walk
that's,
up
I
and
mean,
smack it.
yeah, then it's like, okay, it's taking up a lot of room. It really is.
Yes.
So that's definitely something to consider. You're talking smaller items.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking, it just hit me thinking about that is we have a lot of material that
Yep.
we sell. And there's a lot of smaller, I mean, how many rolls of material do we have up there? But there's a lot of them up there that are,
200, 225?
so it's got to be a lot.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, but I mean, a lot of them are under $4.
Yeah.
But but see, that's another one of those items where it's like your little miniatures. You sell by bulk up there for that smaller pieces of material.
Yep.
For people like me that use that all the time, I'm thrilled to go up there and yank a couple of those for $3 or $4, $5, So it's just a lot of balancing act is what it is. Are you going to be able to move it quick enough to make enough money to attract other people?
Well, and if you have smaller items, maybe like that, as far as, some of the pieces of fabric, I mean, that's something a lot of people, you're not a fabric person and you buy one piece of fabric. Mm-hmm. You're going to go out of there with an armload. And people know that we sell certain things.
Yes.
We have people that come specifically to our booth to buy fabric.
Yep.
And when we moved from
I was thinking, go ahead with your line of thought.
when we moved, we were at the one place, the one mall for 6.5 years, and there was a space of 4 or 5 months between when we left the one place and when we started the other place.
Yeah.
And we, of course, had our fabric. We
Yep.
put it out, and we had so many people saying, "Oh, we missed you from the other place. We're so glad you turned up here."
Yeah, they're like, we walked through and I said, that looks like the stuff. Yeah, they're over here now. So yes, they come out specifically to shop our material.
Yeah, so I mean, people, we're very glad to see that. And we've even had customers, like we say, we always kind of talk to our customers when they're in the booth. If you say hi to them and they seem kind of talkative, we'll talk to them. And that's when you get some feedback. And we used to have our fabric a lot lower to the ground.
Yep.
And we had people saying, "Look, I love buying the fabric, but my knees can't handle
Yep.
as low as you got this."
Yep.
So, I mean, there are people that is an item that brings them back continually. And if you figure, I essentially charge $3 a yard. So if you have a $5 piece of fabric would be like a little less than 2 yards. I don't have that many pieces of fabric that are bigger than that. So, or that are going for more than that. So yeah, and some of the pieces are like a fat quarter. You're talking 25, 50 cents.
They purposefully sell those in craft stores and fabric stores
Yep.
that size
Yep.
at that price. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's
so,
people buying them or they wouldn't be selling them in the mainstream. They're going to enjoy picking up the oddball stuff that we come across in small pieces.
Oh yeah. So I've talked about this before on my channel that I sell a lot of my vintage fabric. If I buy any vintagey fabric, it goes on eBay. But a lot of the everyday cotton blend, interesting, cute, kinds of fabric, or even plain fabric, some upholstery fabric, some flannel, that all goes directly into the booth.
Well, unless I get to it first.
Yes, it has to go through Kim's hands.
It has to go through mine.
Even today, she picked out a couple, and then she's going to put the other ones away, and she's like, "You must have been putting stuff out here when I wasn't out here." And I'm like, "Well, Or she picked up one and said, "Oh, this one I don't." I'm like, "Kim, that one's been here a while," and she's like, "Oh, it has sparkles on it. That's why I didn't buy it." So yeah, so it has to filter through the sister first. So
Yeah, get my seal of approval before it goes on the shelf.
no,
Darn, I might have to
go.
take
I was
this.
gonna say, go into your basket and it goes home with you.
Have to try this out and make sure that it's a good fabric before we sell this one.
Yeah, is that the story we're going with?
Yeah, right now.
So
Just don't go in my front room and look.
oh
at
my
us.
goodness.
You wouldn't be able to tell because I got it all folded up differently than you do, so you won't be able to tell.
Yeah, you could still tell. So yeah, they always say that whoever dies with the most toys wins. Kim should be she's gonna die with the most fabric.
No.
Wins.
You didn't pay attention to the sign on my door. He that dies with the most fabric didn't sew fast enough.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So I mean, you're talking certain staple type items.
Yeah.
That are definitely going to sell, and when I get my paycheck, I may have a lot more. They take the stickers off of the items, and then they put them on paper, and then the readout that has our check and everything, we get that. So I may have a whole lot more stickers than other people because I do have a lot of items that are lower priced items.
Your dishcloths.
Yeah.
I just things popping into my head that are in that price point.
Oh,
but
earrings.
Those sell. Yeah, those all sell at a
all my
decent
earrings, I either get I buy them cheaper, or I've been doing some of the jewelry jars. All my earrings are $3.99, and I've literally had people buy 5, 6, 7 at a time. And people know that I have earrings, and they know I'm always bringing out new ones. So that is another item that people come to our booth because they know that's what they're going to find. Oh, I got another one for you. Incense.
Yeah.
I have boxes of incense, and the boxes have 8 sticks in them. And I purchased them in bulk on eBay for, I think they're between 30 and 37 cents or something, or 40 cents for each box, and I have $2 on them. And people buy a couple here, a couple there. This last paycheck, I literally had somebody buy 24 boxes.
Wow.
24 boxes. And the way they ring them up, like if you have a huge amount of items and they're all the same price, they'll type in, this is the price, 24 at, and then $2. That was $48.
That was a whole 2 pages in the book of your stickers.
Well, they ended up putting one sticker and they put 24 times, and I'm like, I don't blame you.
Now it sounds like something I'd do if I was a...
That would be, the person would have walked out waiting on that one.
Yeah.
But the point is, you think, $2, you're selling something for $2? I have a box, a pretty little basket that these are in, that's probably 10 by 10. And they're standing up on end so you can dig through them.
Yeah.
They don't take up much room. And that one check there's some other ones that sold, but one person spent $48 on incense.
Yep.
So, yeah, you think, you're selling something for $2? Yeah, I sold 24 of them.
Yep.
So, and that's another item that I keep in the booth, and people know it's there, and they can smell it as soon as they step into the booth. In fact, I get a headache every time I get a shipment of like 70, and I have to literally sit down and price them all.
I'm sure you
But
do.
man, they're, that's $2 items. Yeah. So, these are staple items that we always carry, and they're making the money. So, you can turn your nose up at $2, but
I mean, how big are those? I mean, they're stand up tall, but they're not
probably
more
a
than
foot tall. And the box I have them in is maybe 10 inches by 10 inches. And they're all standing up in there. And I literally have
they're
probably
not
150 in that space.
They're only about
standing
a
up.
half-inch by half-inch square
yeah.
or something with those sticks in it. So they
Yeah.
don't... There's a lot in that little tiny space. So if you think of it in that regards, again, we're talking about, per square inch what you're making money on. That may not seem like a lot, but how many boxes do you have in that little 10 by 10 square?
Like 100, 125.
So if
Yeah.
you paid, 30-some cents a box and what you're going to get out of it, that is well worth that few square inches of $3 items.
Yeah.
It pays for itself.
Yeah. So that's, and I think if you have people, if they do like incense, or even if they're attracted to it, all the boxes are all different pretty colors. And you see, I have a lot of them. You want to dig through them. You want to look and sniff. And so, I mean, it does draw you in to see that. So that's definitely, I mean, something that will draw someone in, and they will look at that and choose some, because they see you have more than just one or two. And earrings, how many earrings does we have a stand-up spinner, and that holds hundreds of earrings.
Yep.
And so that in itself takes up probably 14 inches by 14 inches by 5 feet.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of bang for your buck in the size that you have it in.
Yeah, when you have to bend over and pick them all up where everyone knocks them
Oh
on the
my
floor.
goodness. We when we straighten our booth, that's the last thing we straighten, because nobody wants to, because you pick up one that's fell and you hang it up and your big fat fingers knock over 3 more.
And she always teased me about it. I haven't done it the last few times. How many did you knock over today stocking that with new
Only
ones?
1 or 2.
Oh, okay.
Only 1 or 2.
Who was counting? Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's. I guess we're saying yes. It's a good thing. Is that? You said no, and then yes. I don't know.
Yeah, I say no to yes, but I think the whole point behind that is like everything else with running this booth. You just have to take time and think about it. Be reasonable and sensible. Take a minute to figure out, is this going to be worth that spot that it's going to take up? And in a lot of cases, it's yes. But if that's what you're building your booth on, is stuff that's really not worth much, and you're trying to sell it for under $5,
yeah,
it's just you have to think about what you're doing.
And and compare it to a dollar store. When you go into a dollar store and there's anything other than food type items, everything is made in China. Everything's plastic. Everything's cheapo. Everything's easy to break. Those are not the kind of under $5 items that you want.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah. So I mean, if you I found a little porcelain piggy standing on a scale, and I got it for probably a quarter at a garage sale, and I probably had $5 on it. It was so adorable. And, it's one of those items that you're not going to go into a dollar store and find that. You're not going to go anywhere and just five or 10 of those. You're just not going to find them. So we may have items that are under $5 or under. It's still, they're unique items.
Yeah.
They're not mass produced. You can't see them everywhere you go.
Well, the small zip bags that I hand make start at $5 and go up in price from there. So the real small ones are $5. And you can go next door and get one for $1, but it's not going to be made the way mine is. It's not going to hold up as long. It's not as thick and lined and protective and pretty and cute.
It's plastic.
Nobody else.
And the third time you zip the zipper, it's going to come off and be in your hand, and you're going to be like, well, there's the end of that.
Yep.
So, yeah, you have to consider what it is you're buying.
Maybe we have more than 20% up there. While we're talking, we better sit and talk about this a little more, huh?
Yeah, we need to go over the business strategy.
It's working so far, so it must be okay.
Yeah. And like I said, there are vendors who either make items or repurpose items, and they have stuff up there that's literally probably $300 to $700 an item, and that's mainly what they have in their booth. So they may go a while between sales, but when they sell one item, cha-ching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the difference is, do you think a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's so beautiful, or it's so pretty, or I wish I had one? Who can afford that?
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to go into a place that doesn't have things you have to have, things you can live without, and be able to drop $300 to $700?
Not me.
So
if I drop it, I'm picking it up pretty darn quick after that.
I don't have it to drop it. So the point is, are you going to sell one thing? Like, if I, if I get my paycheck and it's $400 or $375, it wasn't one item. It was a whole lot of little items, but it still spends the same.
Definitely.
So I guess that's what you have to consider. And when you have a booth, when you started that booth, you had a general idea what you're going to put in it. If you are refurbishing or repainting or repurposing, furniture and tables and all that, you're gonna demand a higher price because that stuff is very popular now. But if you're like, I really want to sell, what do I buy to resell? I guess that's where you run into this question of the $5 and under rule.
Yeah, I would think that smart people too, in a lot of cases that are doing furniture, also have those kind of items in their booth if they want to keep the sales and the progression going. There's a lot of cases, if you have a booth with just some pieces of furniture sitting there, I mean, I'm not purposefully shopping for a piece of furniture. I'm going to glance in there and keep on going. But if you have other items in there that draw me in, then I might go, that is a really cute little table. Well, I probably could put that, in a certain place or something. But most times I'm going to walk right past it.
And think about it this way. If you are selling mostly furniture or you have a large space, you're going to have to spend and buy smaller items to stage that.
Exactly.
So if you have a beautiful table sitting there, have a beautiful table setting on it. Have some dishes on it. You're staging that so people can look at it and say, I can see that in my house. So even if that is your main focus, you're still going to want to stage those items.
Well, you think of a house for sale, and you see all these shows on there. How many times do they pay for a staging company to come in?
Oh, yeah.
Because the house is the big ticket item you're trying to sell. But when you walk in, sometimes they just don't have a clue what to do with that space, that open area.
Or you have a strange shaped room that doesn't have a door on it, and you're like, what in the world would I put in there?
Yep. So by staging that house, the same as staging the booth with smaller items, not only do you have a chance of selling the smaller items, but it gives the person an idea what they can do with that bigger piece and help it move a little quicker.
It's funny enough that you say that about staging. We actually have a few customers, and I've spoken to one of them particular, that she buys things from our mall for staging. She owns a staging company. Yeah. So she's always looking for some picture or some, piece of furniture, and she evidently has a huge warehouse of items that's what she sells.
Well, because in most cases, when they put that in a house, they're willing to sell anything that's in that house with it if you like it well enough, because it fits that spot.
Oh, we can find a price. Yeah, absolutely.
So so that makes sense. I like when staging companies decide to clean out their warehouses and I get to buy it and put it in my booth. Oh. There was one place out there in Cleveland. Oh, yeah. I love that because they used to do that all the time out there.
Funny enough, we have a place in our area that has 2 sales a year. It's coming up, the spring one. It is an import company, and they have items that they sell in bulk to whoever, if their people are buying them to sell them in a retail space or whatever they do with it. And they, once they end up switching that stuff out and not carrying it anymore, they have extras, they have floor models, they have samples, and the prices are insane. So that sale is coming up. So maybe I'm probably going to do, if I buy anything, do a haul from there. But it is, just awesome stuff. So that's coming up soon. But it's just one of those things that, like you said, staging. Even if you got furniture, you're going to have to stage it in such a way. Because I hate to say this, but a lot of customers, they don't have an imagination.
They're like, cute, but I don't know what I would do with that.
And, so I think of our old space we used to be in. You could sell an empty vase. You could sell a bag that has fake lemons in it. You could sell those things and people are like, oh, I'll take this and I'll put it in that and then I'll do this. Where we're at now, people want to come in, pick that item up, carry it to their house, and set it down and go, isn't that pretty?
Yep.
So when you take something in there, like you had a red candle when we first started, you took in there, and it sat for the longest time. It was like a pillar, and I finally ended up giving you some money for it, and I put it in a vase, and then it sold because it was ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But some people just, I don't know, they just don't have a lot of imagination where we're at, or they want you to do the styling.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think that's what it is.
So
The other place they shopped for ideas to add to their, well, like we've said before, there was a lot of places out there that are open seasonally, and they decorate the places that you can rent out seasonally.
cabins and
so they kind of are like, wow, I can get this, and then I could stick flowers in that and make it look rustic and fit in. So they were more into that. Where we're at right now is more like, I just want to buy it and set it someplace to look good. I don't want to think about it. I'm not into that.
It's more cityfied, I guess.
Definitely.
And it's closer to Cleveland than the previous place we were at. That was in a more rural, did I say it right, area. And so you had total different clientele. They're 25 minutes apart, but they're worlds apart in what they sold.
Yep.
So, so I guess what we're trying to say is that, as long as you're, balancing what you're selling with the amount of items that you have are a lower price, it's just like eBay. If you have 100 items and you have things that are $100 and things that are $5 or $10, where are the majority of your items priced at? Mm-hmm. What we could do, or what you can do for eBay, is how many items did you sell this month? How much does that equal? Divide it by how many items you sold. That's your average selling price item.
Yep.
So if you want to look at that, if you want to say, well, I want to make more money and I don't want to do more work, then you're going to have to up what you're purchasing. So eBay, that makes total sense. You're not looking at all of the things I have listed. I have over 500 things on eBay. You're not looking at it all in one room. You know what I mean? So in ours, literally we have probably 1,000 or more items.
Oh yeah.
In our booth.
Oh yeah.
And that when you bring stuff in, it has to be staged. It has to look nice. And that's why on eBay you can say, well, I'm not going to sell anything under 5. I'm not going to sell anything under 10. You're perfectly fine. You're not staging that stuff. You're not making it visually appealing because you're looking at it all at once. That's what we're doing in our booth. Everything has to be cohesive and set up a certain way that it is beautiful and appealing.
And not look like a garage sale.
Yeah. And I'll give you a prime example, and Kim probably knows where I'm going with this. We had a lady in our mall who was complaining about her sales, and I can't really sell anything, and, it's this and that. And your girls' booth, it looks so pretty. Could you please just go over and give me some ideas? So Kim and I didn't just give some ideas. We finished our space. We went over and we spent 2 hours in her booth. And we moved stuff. Now we didn't bring anything new in.
No.
We didn't take anything out.
No.
We just rearranged what she had. And that next week she said, I got a whole bunch of sales. So that shows you what, how, and grouping. She had a lot of lower priced items. She had a lot of like cookie tin, like metal tin type things. We got gathered it all up, put it in one spot. That stuff was $2 to $3
Decorative
a piece.
plates with pictures and things, and got those put together. And
so individually her stuff is not a lot each, but once you started grouping it and people started seeing things displayed together, we're going to put all the kitchen stuff here, and well, here she has decorative plates. Here she has all her books. So when we went in there and started rearranging everything, and she was like, we could have gone in there and put everything on the floor, and she probably wouldn't have cared, because if it would have had sales, she would have been fine with it. But she was so impressed. She was working register that day. So afterwards she came over and she was like, wow. So she really liked it, and she had sales. So
win-win.
Win-win what?
It was a win-win for her.
Yeah, because she
It was a win
didn't expect us to
No,
do that, but
and-
of course,
yeah.
you know.
And it was a win for us, if for no other reason, it made us feel good to help somebody else
Yeah.
and possibly spur, other people who may have heard the conversation or whatever to go by and maybe they're struggling, with their sales in their booth or something, and maybe take away something that might help them to make more sales later.
Yeah. But I mean, it was fun to do
Yeah,
because
it
we're like,
was.
because we went in there and, we're like, look at all the kitchen stuff. It's
where do
here
you
and over
even
there.
start?
Yeah. So we just started one thing and Kim's like, okay, any tins, start handing them to me. And then I'm like, okay, you got any decorative plates, hand them this way.
We didn't
And that's
plan
what we
on
did.
spending 2 hours in there. We were just
Well,
going to spend a few minutes, and we
you
got a
know
little
how-
carried
yeah,
away.
You know how that goes. It's
The woman with OCD and me, who I can't control myself sometimes. We just
But you
tore
know what?
into
It like you said, it felt good. And it's funny because the owner walked by and he stopped and he looked at us and he's trying, because literally it is on the complete opposite wall of where our booth is. And he stopped and goes, "What are you guys doing?" We said, "Oh, well, she just asked us if we could help, if we could look over the booth and give her a few ideas." And we couldn't just do that. We had to straighten and move stuff.
Jump
that's,
right in.
That's a prime example. Everything we're moving was probably maybe $8 and less.
Yeah.
So just moving it around made that difference.
All those, she had a lot of tins with lids that were decorative. Some were very old vintage, some were newer.
Yep.
Grouping all those together and setting them up real nice in a row on the shelves made a big difference.
I think too she had a lot of things like in boxes, things that she brought in when I get a chance. I'm going to put these out.
That's another discussion, isn't it?
That's a whole nother podcast. But the idea was she wasn't doing too well on sales. She didn't have things very expensive. We rearranged them, and people buy them.
That's another podcast there too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why aren't things selling?
Yep, we're absolutely going to cover that too. So I guess that's basically what we wanted to discuss. I don't know, is there anything else you can think to add, Kimberly?
I guess not at this time.
So, yeah, I'm going to ask you again. So, should you sell things that are $5 or under? Has your answer changed?
Heck yeah. Well, I was going to say something else, but I'd get in trouble, so I won't say that.
I won't slap you. We have a good microphone. It'll pick it up too much. So,
I have
yeah.
witnesses.
So, that should be it for this week's podcast. Next week, we got another interesting subject coming up. And we will find lots of more good things to talk about. Please, if you have a comment or a question, please leave it down below in the comment box. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We do these podcasts every week faithfully, and well, so far we're number 3.
Good.
We've been real faithful up till now. Woohoo! So we want you to do that. If there's some question or some comment you'd like to make that you'd like for us to cover, but you don't want to put it in the comment section, you can send me an email you can send an email to jen@pudgypicker.com. And we will definitely cover anything you want to, and we'll make sure if you send it in there, we will not mention your name. Or maybe we will. No, I'm just
It
kidding.
depends on how embarrassing it is.
Just put, please don't mention my name. So, yeah, if you have any questions, we're eventually probably going to have just maybe one podcast with a whole bunch of questions. And then after that, I think we kind of want to just answer them as we go along, have a quick comment section in the bottom. But that would be awesome. So that is all we have. So you have anything else, or are we done?
We're done.
Okay. Well, we'll see you next time. Or you can listen to us next time.
Yes.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
She came in on me early yesterday.